My mom is visiting us this week, and I'm cooking our family dish, chicken with potatoes and carrots. Very simple, tasty, and with a little secret twist at the end. I start by seasoning the chicken with salt and ground black pepper. Every family has its own stories, sometimes half forgotten. My mom likes to collect them. As I cook, I would like to share one of them with you. But first, I add some dry oregano to the chicken for a little Mediterranean flavor. A good drizzle of olive oil and mix it very well so that the spices and the oil cover all 6 pieces of chicken. If you want to make the dish a little fancier, you can get some guinea fowl, turkey, or even a rabbit and cook it in the same way. I heat the pan with my favorite mixture of olive oil and butter for softness and creaminess. The oil prevents the butter from burning as it's much more heat resistant. I fry the chicken on the skin side first for a nice crispy crunch. I try not to overcrowd the pan, because if you try to do everything at once and put too much chicken in the pan, it won't fry, it will stew. And I want to avoid that. The crispy skin is so important in this dish. Meanwhile, I cut the shallots. I found them very delicate, but it's a matter of personal taste. Red or yellow onions would be just as good for this dish. Speaking of onions, let me tell you my family legend layer by layer. My great-great-grandmother was a visionary who didn't want to get married when she turned 17. She was very passionate about cooking and about traditions and the lore of distant countryside. She convinced her parents to let her travel for a year or so in the company of her cousins, and so they went from village to village, collecting recipes, herbal remedies, and stories. She wrote it all down in her notebook. The story goes that she also painted a lot. Who knows? Maybe one day she wanted to publish a book. But one moment, please. I'll come back to the story in a little while. I have to turn the chicken now. That's a great color. The crispy skin is on its way. I will now let it cook on the other side. In the meanwhile, I chop the carrots, the world-famous source of vitamin A. Our bodies can only use it well with some fat. That's why it's important to drink your fresh carrot juice with a bit of cream. For now, the chicken is done and I put it aside to rest on the plate. Now I'm going to fry my vegetables. First, I put the shallots in the pan where the chicken's just been. They should absorb the juices and caramelize slightly. I prefer to do over a gentle heat so as not to burn them by accident. That way they still have all the nutrients, lots of iron, magnesium, vitamin C and B. Carrots join the party and add a bit of sweetness. While I'm chopping the potatoes, as there are quite a few of them, I have a moment to go back to the story of my great-great-grandmother. Her name was Teresa, by the way, and the passion for cooking must be passed on from one generation to the next. I sometimes wonder what she could have done if she'd had the technology we have today. She just had notebooks, an ink pen, watercolors, and lots of enthusiasm. But of course, love got in the way. In one small village by the sea, Teresa met a man who ran a small tavern where she and her cousins stayed. He was rather grumpy loner, a little older than she was, but somehow they stayed in the village much longer than in any other place. At the end of their stay, My grandmother wrote a letter to this man and put it in the pocket of his coat before she left, never expecting to see him again. Before I continue, I have to add the potatoes and season them well with salt and pepper. My favorite salt of all time is fleur de sel, which means salt flour in French. After a year of traveling, Teresa, my great-great-grandmother, returned to her hometown with notebooks full of recipes and drawings, and also a broken heart, because the grumpy tavern owner never answered her letter. Maybe he never found it in the pocket of his coat, or maybe he had too much sea salt in his diet. There was no way of knowing. Teresa's parents soon found her a perfect match and she married. We don't know if she tried to publish her book, we just know that it didn't happen. Her drafts eventually disappeared and we never had a chance to read them. That's not the end of the story, but let me add the finishing touches. While the vegetables are busy frying, I'll chop some garlic, as finely as possible. This is not just to keep the vampires from stealing our dinner. Garlic is a great antioxidant and fights off infections, not just Dracula's. Coming back to Teresa, many years had passed, and she finally returned to the seaside village with her husband and children. The little tavern where she had stayed a decade ago was now a resort, called Teresa by the Sea. Yes, the grumpy villager expanded his business and named it after my great-great-grandmother. At least that was her interpretation of events. My great-great-grandfather obviously hated this story, and they soon continued their travels. But somehow the circle was complete for Teresa. The resort was open until sometime in the early 90s. Listening to the family legends, my mother somehow felt it was connected to our family and spent her honeymoon there. Now it would be great to add some freshness and herbs. I have some parsley that I'm going to chop up really finely. Dill, fresh oregano, coriander would be perfect for this dish. I would avoid basil though, as it is a bit overpowering. Also, basil doesn't like heat and would turn brown quickly in the oven. I gently stir in the parsley and put the crispy potatoes on top so that they caramelize evenly. The chicken comes back on a pile of vegetables and herbs. Don't forget the juices that was left on the plate where chicken had a little rest. They have the essence of the flavor. Now, the promised twist. I heat 1/4 cup of honey and wait until it starts boiling. Then, I add the same amount of sweet chili sauce. Squeeze 2/4 of the lemon. Add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. I still keep it on a low heat, stirring all the time until all the ingredients blend into each other. I pour the sauce over the chicken. It will make it incredibly delicious, a little sticky on the top. We are now ready for the oven, which has been preheated to 400 degrees. In just half an hour, it's ready. We've made this dish many times, and it's always as good as it gets. The chicken is so soft that it melts in your mouth. As for the potatoes and carrots, my husband always says that no one else in the world makes them as tasty as I do in this dish. Perhaps we're on our way to creating our own family recipe legend. It would be so great to read your family stories. If you feel like sharing, please do so in the comments. Lecker.